Cynan Anwyl, and I can't wait to go across the pond to listen to Across the Pod, fresh out of Wales. Special stuff. Cheers.
Hello everyone, Andy here, and here's what you can look forward to in today's episode. In today's episode, I was joined by Cynan Anwyl as we rank our top 10 most overrated NFL players of all time. Cynan discusses one player who's widely considered one of the most overrated players in NFL history.
Oh, I know exactly where you're going. I know exactly where you're going, yeah.
Right. And Cynan does not agree with one of my picks.
Now, this one, just my reaction, might get a bit of heat, but
hope you all enjoy.
Shemai, croeso i'r Across the Pod podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast. Gyda fi heddiw with me today is a guy best known for his work on the Welsh-speaking NFL podcast, Di'r Helmed Yn Ffitio. Back with me today is Cynan Anwyl.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. Thank you very much, Andy. Thank you.
Well, no problem at all. As you can tell, I got a little bit of knowledge of Welsh speaking, obviously not fluent. I did learn Welsh for A-level. Fun fact, in this room behind me, I am currently in my old setup where I used to record this show for the first 4 or 5 series before I did move to Cardiff. But this is where the magic happened right at the start of the show, where I did grow up in a little town in South Wales. But yeah, Cynan does do a Welsh-speaking podcast. And Cynan, we normally do this at the end of the show, but we'll start it at the beginning of the show. Tell the audience about your podcast. You've been on the show before. Can't remember what week of the season it was. But yeah, give a chance once again to introduce your podcast.
I also appreciate it, man. Thank you. Well, so as Andy said, Di'r Helmed Yn Ffitio, so in English, does the helmet fit? And it's basically just the whole premise of it is just and basically to explain American football, or to simplify American football, basically, because there's been so many occasions where I've met people who have, trying to get into it, but they always say there's too many things going on, there's too many rules, it's hard to keep up, which I completely get, especially over the off season, there's so much drama, there's so many things going on all at the same time. And I even catch myself when I'm watching the games with my dad, and I'm like, oh yeah, he'll say, oh, where's this guy? And I'll say, oh yeah, he went to this team, by the way, and this other one actually doesn't play anymore because he got arrested, and then this one's here. So I just thought, it would be great to kind of simplify all of that, and then having been in and around the NFL podcasting circles, I thought, it's a shame that there's nothing in the Welsh medium. So I thought, I'll give it a gander. So no, it's been going good. I need to be more consistent with it. So I think I said this to you last time anyway. Kudos to you and massive respect to you for being so consistent and being able to do this so often. But I definitely need to do the same. But no, it's great. I do a couple of interviews as well. A lot of it is like basically me running down what's happened in the week or in the month in the NFL circle, basically. But yeah, that's my story, really.
Well, I am going to put what I am hoping to. I said this last time. I've not actually done anything since I last spoke to you about it, but I am hoping to once again try and relearn Welsh. I did it for A-level, so I feel like the knowledge is there. And I was watching a bit of the Welsh version of The Voice yesterday.
Okay.
Because, as I said to you before by text, a family friend was competing in it, so we watched that, and we had the subtitles on in English, and I was trying to learn a bit whilst watching it, but it is incredibly hard. But I'm hoping one day I can be speaking Welsh good enough that I can come on your podcast and have a real good practice of speaking Welsh.
Yeah, of course, anytime. Yeah, of course, I'd love it.
Absolutely. Well, before we go on to the rest of the show, let's head on to what happened. We're bringing it back for this off season on this day.
On this day, on May 2nd, back in 1978, Earl Campbell was drafted first overall by the Houston Oilers, and in 1999, John Elway announced his retirement from the NFL, and the likes of Alec Pierce, Cam Scatterboo, Tariq Woolen, AJ Dillon, Tremaine Edmonds, and Orlando Brown Jr. were born.
So, Cynan, before we do carry on with the show as well, you mentioned about bringing the Welsh medium to Wales and podcasts. You went recently to the Overlap tour, I believe.
The Overtime tour.
Yeah, Overtime,
Yeah.
not Overlap. I'm thinking of Gary Neville.
Yeah.
You went recently to the show that was done by Neil Reynolds, Phoebe Schechter, Jason Bell. It was in Wrexham, which most NFL events, they are in London or Manchester. So it's nice that they are bringing once again NFL stuff back to Wales, North Wales, where you're from, of course. What was that experience like? And I saw you did that video where you asked a question to the guys on stage. How was that experience for you?
Oh, it's great. I mean, I think very grateful that it came back to Wrexham this year. So I went to it last year. I think it was the first time this year that they went to the same place consecutively in a way. So it was brilliant. I think like you say, it's great to have it in North Wales because there isn't much coverage in Wales. Period. You have even when you're thinking Britball, you only have the one team in the South Wales Warriors. Really, you don't have much going on. So I think I loved it. I think Neil, Phoebe, and Jason are just like, we couldn't think of a better panel, a better trio really to push the game in the UK. So they were brilliant. And they, I think Phoebe and Jason remembered me for last year, so that was good as well. And yeah, I was like, this year I was determined to get my question right because last year I asked the question and I made a total fool of myself, basically. So last year I wanted to ask them about Shedeur Sanders, and I wanted to be like, so this was again pre-draft, and I wanted to ask them where do you think he'll be drafted? And so because I was getting flustered and thinking, oh my God, I can't miss this, I said Shiloh Sanders rather than Shedeur. So I was like, oh yeah, Shiloh Sanders is cool, blah, blah, blah. And then I could see, as I was asking a question, I could see people around turn their heads what the hell is this guy on about? And then thankfully, they the panel got it really. So I think Neil glossed over it. And they went on answering question, and then I just suddenly went, oh, I meant Shedeur, and I made this big fuss about it. So this year I was prepped, and I was like, I want to know about Jeremiah Love. I want to know what you guys think about Jeremiah Love, where he'll be drafted, really. So no, I mean, I love it. I love, I try and go to as many NFL things as I can, and like you say, when they're in London, when the London base is quite hard to go from little Anglesey all the way to London at times, but no, anything around here I'll try and get to anyway.
Great stuff. Yeah, of course, the show is being released post-draft, and we are recording this, I'm going to get it up here, we are recording this on April the 6th at 9:16 a.m. So by the time this podcast is released, we are going to have had the draft in Pittsburgh, and you are a keen lover of not just NFL, but also college football, Cynan. Quick thoughts on the draft. I mean, I think we all know the consensus number one pick will be Mendoza. Kind of who are you saw? Because we are doing an episode which will be released before this episode's released, but after we record this, where we go through with friends of the show, Aaron Fletcher, about players that we can look out for in the draft coming up. So kind of for you, how are you feeling about it? Are you expecting any shocks in the first round or second round? Players to fall, players to be reached? How are you feeling about this year's upcoming NFL draft?
You know what? It is, and I think quite an underrated draft. I think is quite stacked. I think, obviously there's a big, a big highlight with defensive players. You got your Ruben Bain, you got David Bailey's another one. And then Rodriguez as well. You got these like big. Sonny Styles is another big name, the defensive players. But I think like, I've been going through all the combine film and a couple like player film as well. The wide receivers this year really stacked as well. So obviously we know about Mekhi Lemon, his weird interviewing techniques. I'm trying to think. I think his teammate Jacoby Lane, really good. Obviously Carnell Tate, Ohio. I love Colby Young from Georgia. There's another wide receiver that I think will actually be all right. But I think we will see some teams trading up. There's a lot. I watched a video before this, and it was like some guy breaking down like the running backs in the draft, and he was saying I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams would trade up to try and nab Jeremiah Love basically out of the top 10, because like Jason Bell said in the overtime tour, there's a lot of teams in that top 10 that might go for, they might prefer an offensive lineman rather than a running back. So you might get teams that come up to try and poach Jeremiah Love rather than letting him slip out of the top 10. So that's something, I wouldn't be surprised to see. I think one more one is maybe Ty Simpson getting picked in the second round, possibly. And maybe he's the better quarterback out of him and Mendoza. Only time will tell, really. But I think that's another one to look out for as well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing a lot of research recently because we are doing our annual mock draft coming up again once this podcast is way before this podcast is released. But I think that fourth overall pick seems to be the one I think we could see trade a Palooza. I think you got the Jets second and the Cardinals third, and I think you'll see probably I think Jets will go edge, and I think Cardinals could go, I think, edge or offensive tackle. You think about Francis Magoa from Miami. I think he'll be the top offensive line prospect. And I think that fourth overall pick, which is held currently by the Titans, I can see they could go Jeremiah Love, but I think also when you've already got Tony Pollard, they might think, right, we've got bigger areas of need. We've got a semi-solid running back in him. You could see them trade down. With the Jets draft capital, you could even see them second overall. You could see them trade down, and maybe someone does take Jeremiah Love second overall, or maybe go and get a tackle second overall to kind of nab the Cardinals. So I think, first overall pick, I think it seems, the fact they let go of Geno Smith, it seems pretty obvious that Mendoza is going to be the guy. But I think after that, I think it all hangs on what the Jets do. And I'm really excited to see what happens there. And I'm looking forward to, for that draft starting. But today's episode is all about who we think are the 10 most overrated players in NFL history. Now, this one could get a bit spicy. There's be some that I imagine that I say that you disagree with. There's some that you say I might disagree with. And of course, you guys listening or watching at home might also feel the same about some of our picks. And I think you think about our previous top 10s we've done in the past, whether it's top 10 we did so far this offseason with Roy Jones, best offseason moves, Ben Isaacs, best ever matchups we never got in the Super Bowl. There's going to be some that are pretty standard. You think about, everyone thinks about the Chiefs against the Rams. Everyone thinks about one of the best moves being Hendrickson. But this one, it's all about opinion. And this one could go west quite quickly, I think.
Oh God, yeah. Well, so I was, I was sketching names down. I was looking at them. I was like, no, okay, I can't. Surely I can't say some of these. But then there was some I left out because there's like some of these are like way too obvious. Like it goes beyond overrated, whereas like so many people think they're overrated is now fairly rated. So I left some people like that out as well. But no, this is any NFL players listening to this, just please do not take this harshly, please. You guys are all great because you've actually made the league, and I'm sat here in Anglesey wearing your shirts. So don't not saying it's Kamara, but as in just like that we're not. Please
I was going to say you got Reggie Bush and Drew Brees behind you. I can't see Drew Brees being on your list.
No. That's my goat. That's my goat right there.
Yeah.
That's my goat. No chance.
I mean, what we're going to do is while we do our usual process, we'll go one by one. Each pick and we'll nominate a player, and we'll have our 10 players, and then from that we'll then rattle through, try and get a list from 10 to 1. Cynan, you are the guest, and the guest always goes first. So, who is your first nominee for our top 10 most overrated players in NFL history?
Okay, right. So my first pick for maybe not in order of the most, but the first name that came to mind was Odell Beckham Jr. That was my first pick as one of the most overrated players in the NFL. I mean, do we go backwards and forwards, or do you want me to give you a rundown of why I think is?
I will say the first guy I had kind of earmarked was also Odell Beckham Jr.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I'll let you hit the floor with this one and explain your reasoning.
Well, so I'm a stats man, so I was looking at all the stats. Okay, so 10 seasons. Now these are regular season stats as well. So in 10 seasons, he had 5 1,000-yard seasons. Okay, I'll give him that. Quite good. He only had 3 10+ receiving touchdown seasons. His career receiving yards, just under 8,000 receiving yards, so 7,987. Now, notable players who have reached 8,000 yards. Okay, now you tell me because there's some people that think that OBJ is like a Hall of Famer. Okay, now listen to these names and tell me if these guys should be in the Hall of Fame anyway. Well, I'm saying they shouldn't be. But if OBJ is held in that high regard, then surely these guys should be in there as well. Okay. So firstly, you have Tyler Lockett. So that's a notable receivers, 8,000 yards. Robert Woods, Bobby Trees. You got Golden Tate, DJ Moore, and Adam Thielen. So those are all players that have had more career receiving yards than OBJ. I think his career, I mean, we all know the catch, like the OBJ catch, like that is what's really propelled his career. Yeah, he had a couple of good seasons at the start of his career, but then it plummeted. We all know, the mess in with the Browns when he went over there, and I'm sure it was his dad that was like complaining that he wasn't getting the ball enough, stuff like that. And then he had the short stint with the Rams, got to the Super Bowl, then did his ACL in, which was a nightmare. But I think he was all right. I think he was decent, but I think he is way overrated with people saying that he should be like a Hall of Famer and that they hold him to such a high standard. That's where I like disagree with it, really. Like, he was all right, but he is not like the best of the best type thing.
I totally agree. Everything you said, I kind of had written down as well. I mean, the players you mentioned there, I mean, these are guys I think that maybe in the Hall are very good. I don't think these players you mentioned, Robert Woods, Thielen. I mean, Thielen's got a great story, but he's not a Hall of Famer. And they got more yards in him. And I think kind of, you mentioned just then, the kind of reason I had him down as my kind of one of my guys I was thinking about was it's that catch. His whole career lived off that catch, and he had 5,000 odd season, 3 of those came in his first 3 seasons. I think we saw a guy that had all the potential in the world, and I will say that I do think he could have got Super Bowl MVP in the Bengals Rams game if he hadn't got injured. I think he was kind of on his way to maybe getting that. That first 2 quarters, or whatever it was before he got injured, he was playing amazingly. But I just feel like for all the hype he had at the start of his career, I don't think it ever really lived up to what he started off as. And I think there's been obviously a lot of problems off the field as well. And I think, he could have been so much more. I kind of feel, for me personally, if we're looking at comparisons with other sports, I kind of think of Neymar. And I think now Neymar probably has more credit in his bank than OBJ. I mean, part of the best front 3 in football history. But I think about he could have been more, left Barcelona, did leave to try and be his own man. But I kind of feel like his career maybe was wasted with what could have been and the hype around him. And I think OBJ is definitely in that category for me. Now, obviously, I will say for all my players I'm going to pick, they're not bad players. They're not horrific players. You mentioned it as well, Cynan, but I just feel like, yeah, for the hype he has around him. I mean, I've got a friend of mine who doesn't watch NFL, but he's under this impression that OBJ is amazing because he's heard so much about him from in the headlines. And social media is a wonderful thing. It can make a player look really good with highlights. But I just think, yeah, for the kind of career he had and what it was projected to have when he first broke through at the Giants, I don't believe he ever lived up to maybe what he could have been, and certainly the media hype that went around him.
No, speaking of social media and NFL players, if we based like social media hype or just coverage around NFL players and that meant how good they were, Kadarius Toney would be one of the greatest players alive. I don't know how many like Kadarius Toney worship fan pages I've seen on Instagram, but you'd think like this guy's the greatest player of all time. Like honestly, I both love and loathe social media sometimes, especially in the NFL.
Kadarius Toney, I swear I saw him the other day doing like rapping or something. I swear I saw him starting a music career.
No way.
I could have sworn. I don't know whether I doubt I'm dreaming about Kadarius Toney being a rapper, but I could have sworn I saw him. I could have sworn I saw him. I'm gonna try and find on TikTok. Music career.
When you said, "Oh, I saw him," I thought, "What is he? Is he about in Cardiff? What's Kadarius Toney doing in Cardiff?"
Can you imagine? That would be. Yeah, apparently he's doing a rap career now. Apparently he's retired from the NFL. This is maybe just be rumors, but he's now a rapper apparently.
Wow.
But he'll always have that moment in the Super Bowl for the Chiefs. But I think some players, I view them as social media players. Shout out Xavi Simmons if you are watching, the Tottenham player. Let's go on to my first nominee for most overrated player in NFL history. Now, this guy, I feel harsh because injury did ruin his career. The way he's talked about, and I'm again looking at the stats of this player, and it's not screaming this guy could have been an all-time great. Bo Jackson is my next nominee.
Now
5.4 yards per carry is commendable. That's fairly good, but in a time where running backs were kind of he's played from 87 to 90. That was the time where running backs were kind of seen as this premier position. Never had an 1,000-yard season. Never had more than 6 rushing touchdowns in a season. And in his 4 seasons in the NFL, in rushing yards, he ranked in 87, he ranked 6th. 88, he ranked 16th. 89, his best one, he ranked 4th, and then 7th in 1990. And this one is probably a bit harsh because of longevity this guy had. But in their career, Jim Harbaugh had more career rushing yards and rushing touchdowns than Bo Jackson. Again, some of these players it's hard to really gauge because it's not a player I watched, but I feel like that's changed the episode entirely if you're doing that, because that would mean it'd only be players from mid 2010s. But from everything I've read about him, everyone talks about what he could have been if injury had been a thing. I'm looking at these stats, and I'm not. If I've seen these stats, never heard of Bo Jackson, I wouldn't be thinking he'd be this guy that everyone raves about. Everyone talks about as being, what could have been. In my opinion, I look at Todd Gurley more at that kind of category than Bo Jackson, based on what I've seen from his stats.
No, 100%. I mean, and funny enough, that was my second pick for overrated players. And like you said, I didn't know Jim Harbaugh had more rushing yards than career rushing yards. That is crazy, because I had a couple of names here that have more career rushing yards than him, and they included Raheem Mostert, Jamal Williams, Najee Harris, Austin Eckler is another one. And he's just what the hell is going on? But I get it. I think he was this once in a generational athlete. He went over to the MLB and like unbelievable there, but I don't know whether it was injuries or whether it was just his work ethic or whether he actually enjoyed playing football more than baseball. But it's one of those like what ifs. What if Bo Jackson actually locked in?
And for those of you that watch Family Guy, you'll know that he has a reference in Family Guy when they, play on whatever the game was they were playing on back in that time. But I think there was a video game where he was just a bit like Michael Vick in Madden 04. I think there's an old game in the 90s or 80s where Bo Jackson is is like a cheat code in the game. But we'll move on to your second nominee out of your 5. Who are you picking next for overrated NFL players?
Now, this one pains me. This one does pain me because his shirt is directly behind my head. And it is Reggie Bush, unfortunately. Now, college-wise, Reggie Bush genuinely might be one of the greatest running backs to ever play in college. That is undisputed. He's fairly rated in that aspect. But when it comes to the NFL, and in comparison to how he was in college, it's not looking good for him, basically. And even though there's not that many people that actually speak as highly of him, having played in the NFL as he did in college, I do think he was a little bit overrated. And I think it was a lot of people like still thinking, oh yeah, well, he must be great because of college, blah, blah, blah. And it made it worse when I was looking at his like career stats in NFL. It just made me a little bit more upset. It was like, so he played 10 seasons, again, regular season stats here, 10 seasons, only 2 1,000 rushing yard seasons. 36 total rushing touchdowns. So it's less than 4 a season on average. Most rushing touchdowns in the season, 6. So just one more than Bo Jackson there. Then he had 5,490 career rushing yards, which is less than Russell Wilson, Cam Newton, Kareem Hunt, Tony Pollard, James Conner, and David Montgomery. Actually, Todd Gurley as well, even though Todd Gurley only played, what was it, 3 or 4 seasons, whatever. Especially when you think that he was a second overall pick in 2006. Like he had so much, so much anticipation. People expected him to be this, the same electrifying player out of college, but he just didn't. He never managed to get there, which is a real shame. Because I love him. I still loved him. I still love him. But I do think he's a little bit overrated. In he's not one of the great running backs in the NFL per se. College, yeah, maybe greatest ever, but in the NFL, he never reached the same heights as he did in college, really.
Yeah, I mean, he's talked about as one of the best ever college players. I mean, he's, I think, quite rightly had his Heisman Trophy reinstated. That was in April 2024. But I think, again, if you're looking at his stats, we did an episode last year, and I forget what it was, where we talked about Ricky Williams and the fact that I think when you have more yards, better stats, not with the team you drafted, that's always going to be seen as a bad pick. And I think for Reggie Bush, his best numbers came in both Miami and Detroit. He had no more than 565 yards, 581 yards in a season for the Saints, and no more than 6 touchdowns. But then with the Dolphins, he had over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns one year, 986 and 6 touchdowns the following year, and then with the Lions, he had over 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns. So I think, again, when you drafted that highly, all the hype around him, when you're going to a team and then you don't perform that, with the team that you drafted, you perform with the next team, I would think that's a bit of a negative on your time and your position in a draft. But Not a guy I thought of, to be honest. Maybe because it's before my time, but yeah, no, Reggie Bush, I think, seen as one of the best college players. Definitely didn't live up to that hype. I think if he'd gone second round or third round, like a lot of players, maybe you wouldn't think of him quite as much as as an overrated player, or maybe a draft bust. But certainly, yeah, a good nominee.
Thank you very much.
Well, next up, we're going to pick who I think is maybe the top of the list. Tom Brady never did it in a big game. No, I'm joking.
Oh my god!
We are 5 days post April Fools. That would have been the biggest April Fool. And that I guarantee, if I said that, if I was legit, that would have been the worst sports take in history in any capacity, in any media outlet. To say Tom Brady can't do it in a big game would have been the most horrendous take.
Yes.
Now, my guy is a guy that I'm going to hate to mention, a bit like you. I'm funny you said that about your ex-player. I'm going to go for an ex-Dolphins player as my next one. Is a Hall of Famer, but I don't quite agree that he should be. I'm going for Bob Greasy as my next nominee because he is a Hall of Famer and he was part of the Dolphins team. He started in both Super Bowls that the Dolphins won, but in that infamous 1972 season, he played just 6 games in that year. Earl Morrell started the majority of that year. I'm guessing is through injury. Bob Greasy, that's why he wasn't playing. Came back, and then the following year did play the whole year. In 1973, as the Dolphins once again won the Super Bowl, but he averaged 109 yards per game, had a total of 1,422 in 13 games, 17 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Larry Zonka seemed to be the main part of the offense more than Greasy. So his best receiver was Paul Warfield with 514 yards. But really, I think that defense was, again, like I mentioned, Zonka leading that offense. The defense, I think, had a big part to play. In the regular season that year, 73, Bill Stanfield had 18.5 sacks. Van der Herder had 10. And Dick Anderson had 8 interceptions that season for 163 yards. So, yeah, Bob Greasy also has his number retired by the Dolphins, his number 12.
Wow.
And he was part of that Dolphins team that won the Super Bowl, won back-to-back years. But he was a small part of their 72 success. And I feel 73, I don't believe that he was a guy that, he wasn't the reason they won it. And I don't believe, looking at this, that he deserved to certainly have his number retired by the Dolphins, even though we won 2 Super Bowls. I just think that I feel a bit harsh because he is a Dolphins legend, probably the second best ever Dolphins quarterback, but that isn't really saying much. Judging by our history. But no, Bob Greasy is my next nominee.
Wow, that I could tell that pained you a little bit. That, like, not bad mouth, but bring up a Dolphins and a Hall of Famer like that as well. I won't lie, because I'm not a Dolphins fan, or I'm not as in touch with the olden days like that. I don't know. I don't know much about his game, but it's. I mean, you seem so passionate about it. You've convinced me as well.
It's I just think that obviously, again, like I'm saying with all these players, they weren't bad players, but I just think for the fact that he's got his number retired and he's a Hall of Famer, I don't know whether it's justified, in my opinion. But Cynan, back to you for your third out of your 5 nominees for most overrated players in NFL history. Who's next?
Okay. See, I'm looking at this guy's name now, and I don't think I think it's similar to like Reggie Bush. So it's not. They weren't like really good in the NFL, but I think it's based on where they were drafted, like what draft position they were drafted at. And I think, in fairness, there was a couple of years ago, people were talking about him in high regard, even though I never thought the same. I was like, no, we are forgetting all the other years. We're just focusing on this one year. And that person is Jadeveon Clowney. So Jadeveon Clowney number 1 overall pick in 2014. Everyone's seen that college hit where he knocks the guy's helmet off, and it's one of the most like ball don't lie like clips you see all the time. Like they were, what was it? The referee like spotted the ball where it was spotted the ball and it was the first down, even though it wasn't, something like that. And then the next snap, Jadeveon Clowney like boomsticks the running back and his like helmet flies off. And like a lot of people credit that hit to, I mean, he was already a beast in college, but they were like, yeah, that like propelled him to the number 1 pick. But I think he had this bounce. Now the year I'm referring to is the bounce back year in 2023. So I was with the Ravens, and he had his, the most sacks he had in a year was 9.5, and so he matched that in that year, and he was quite integral in that defense at the time. But I think when you look at the other 10 seasons and how he had only 4 seasons with 9+ sacks in a season, the most in a season 9.5. I think he never, again, when you are picked number 1 overall, you are expected to play at such a high standard and to be like the guy. But he just never got there. He had overall in his career, he had 66.5 sacks. And notable players who have had more sacks than that, who have had 67 plus: Leonard Floyd, Zadarius Smith, who's still playing now, DeForest Buckner, Preston Smith, and Matt Judon. And those are guys who, well, especially like Matt Judon, you never hear anyone talking about Matt Judon, but he's got more career sacks than Jadeveon Clowney. But I think it's just, I think this one's based again like Reggie Bush. It is that high draft pick didn't amount to that, that draft pick, price in a way. And it's a shame really, because it was nice to see him bounce back with the Ravens. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, this is not, whatever. Like it's looking good for him now. And then he went back to a slump after that. So yeah, that's my third entry into the top 10 overrated players in the NFL list.
Yeah, that's a good one because, like you said, I think where someone's taken has a lot of impact on this. I think you think about if Dak Prescott was a first rounder, I think he'd be seen a lot more as maybe in a negative light. I think he still is seen by some as maybe, he's this or that. And he may even be one of your nominees later on. I don't know. But I think if Dak was the first rounder, I think there'd be a lot more heat on him. And Clowney, for me, the fact he's taken first overall, like you said, I don't think he ever lived up to that. I'm looking at this this draft that he was in 2014, and coincidentally, the last one in their run of consecutive drafts in New York. That was the last one that's been done in New York. The draft which had Johnny Manziel taken in that one.
Wow.
22nd overall. But there was a player we mentioned earlier is in this. Odell Beckham was taken 12th overall in this draft. But the players they could have got with this first overall pick, I think could have made a huge more difference. Khalil Mack was taken 5th overall. Mike Evans, 7th overall.
Wow.
Aaron Donald, 13th overall. Zach Martin, 16th overall. There are other players, even the defensive ends. Dee Ford was taken 23rd overall. Brandon Cook, maybe not the best example, but DeMarcus
Lawrence. Slight shade, just a little shade on Brandon Cooks there.
Very consistent, but yeah, not one you take first overall. But DeMarcus Lawrence was in this draft.
Wow.
It's seen, I think, by a lot of people as quite a good draft. Devontae Adams was taken 53rd overall. Jarvis Landry, Chris. They could. Clowney was good, but the players they're taking here, you kind of think they could have. You could have taken this. I mean, Blake Bortles was 3rd overall, so it's good they didn't pick Blake Bortles 3rd overall. That could have been a disaster. If they'd gone for Blake Bortles, maybe you could argue the one season wonder. But no, I think that's a good pick. Clowney, I think, I think he was just okay. I don't think he was like, oh god, he was trash. He was toilet water. But
No.
yeah, no, certainly for the kind of, again, the draft pick he had, and maybe the talk around him, maybe didn't live up to that expectation. So my next nominee. Now, this one I'm a bit unsure of because he's part of a famous moment in history, but kind of on the wrong side. Herschel Walker is my next nominee. Running back, part of that famous Herschel Walker trade with the Vikings and the Cowboys, where the Cowboys kind of gave him away to the Vikings, and they got a lot of draft picks. I'm gonna get the exact capital up now because they want to give context to the audience who don't know about this Herschel Walker trade. So on October 12th, 1989, Herschel Walker was traded from the Cowboys to the Vikings. And after the transaction was expanded, the trade involved 18 players and draft picks between the three teams. It did help propel the Cowboys from going from 1-15 to winning multiple Super Bowls. It did sort of kickstart their dynasty in the 90s. People are calling it lopsided. That kind of, for the draft capital, all the stuff they gave up for him, and all the kind of stuff he's talked about. Maybe I'm getting this wrong because maybe he is seen as the guy they got rid of to be successful. But only 2,000 rushing yard seasons in a playing career that lasted from 86 to 97. Thurman Thomas, Emmitt Smith, and Barry Sanders all won MVP. Had the 46th most rushing yards and 56th most rushing touchdowns. I don't know. Am I being harsh here? Am I right? I feel like maybe I should change my mind because, yeah, maybe he isn't as bad as maybe because, look, now reading through this trade, I don't know whether actually maybe he should be in this list.
I think there's a fair point. I think it's also in the grand scheme of things when you see how both teams ended up after the trade as well. Like, did Herschel Walker have that much of an effect on the Vikings after the trade to warrant handing all those picks over? We look back at we'll talk about draft picks anyway. Talk about Clowney and Reggie Bush. Now this is three picks in turn for him. So you look at that. I think it's quite fair to say that he's overrated. It's definitely overpaid. So I think that I'd back it.
Won a Heisman Trophy as well, 1982. But yeah, I think that one might be low down in our top 10, but maybe it's still worthwhile. But yeah, no, Herschel Walker. Yeah, I think maybe because they gave up so much capital for him, maybe he should be in this top 10. But no, guy I hear about a lot. Maybe not quite worth what the Vikings gave up to him. Now, Cynan, for your penultimate nominee in the top 10, who are you putting forward for this?
Right. So I've lost Bo Jackson. I've lost, and then there's one at the end here. But I have a sneaky suspicion you're gonna say his name. So I'll wait. I'll wait until I'll wait until last for that one. So now I'm looking at. I had a list of like sketched names on this whiteboard next to me. That's why I'm looking down here. And I was doing some research on some of them. I was like, yeah, I'm not as convinced, so they're not going to be in my top 5. But I'm looking at them here. Okay, one name really jumps out. There's some. Maybe I'll give the other one to honorable mention after the 5th. But one other defensive player that I think is very overrated, and this one is like, I think, more overrated than Jadeveon Clowney, even though it produced better than Jadeveon Clowney, but so much more overrated. And his brother is better than him as well, like way better than him. We have Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa in this list as one of the most overrated players in the NFL. And like, I don't know. His first couple of seasons, yeah, great. You know, he had a couple of seasons, 12 and a half sacks here and there, but he just can't stay healthy. He just cannot stay healthy. And I think he spent most of his career with the Chargers, but I think they missed the trick by clinging onto him for as long as they did, because I think towards the end, I don't have the stats up here for me, but I think towards the end, where it was like maybe his last four seasons, he just couldn't stay healthy for, I'd argue, more than 10 games. Like, he just couldn't stay healthy at all. But the Chargers kept sticking with him. And I just thought the why stick with him? What, so you can have 7 sacks in a season? Like, you can get that from like about half the players in the league. Like, the why you stick it, and why are you paying him this much? Is it purely because his last name is Bosa, and you think that one day he might play as well as his brother? Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, Joey Bosa is, I always see his name come up. I mean, a lot of people think he's overrated, but I don't think enough people overrate him. I think there's too many people that still hold him in high regard, but I don't. He did had a couple of good seasons, but this one's more of like not a personal one, because I don't know the bloke, but like, I don't need the stats in front of me. I just know this is from the heart. Like, Joey Bosa is overrated. Like, I really think he's overrated. Whether you agree with me or not, very much so.
No, I do agree totally with you. He was actually one of the guys I had. He was in my kind of next two. I had planned, kind of depending on who you're going to pick next.
Okay.
And I did think when he said brother, I thought you were going down the what route. I thought you were going to say TJ or JJ.
Oh my god, no! Oh my god, no!
That would be like not as bad as my prank Tom Brady one, but that would have been like what?
That would have been bad.
Yeah, Joey Bosa for me, massively. I mean, Nick Bosa, I will say, you mentioned him. He is one of my favourite players to watch defensively in the NFL. I think when he's healthy, he is unbelievable. I think he is someone I love to watch. Questionable views on a certain person in charge of a country, but no, yeah, I think the fact that I do think, he probably has some seasons with good numbers, but the fact he's only had, I'm looking at now, he's had 4 seasons where he's played in full. Started 16 games in 2017, 2019, and 2017, 16 games he started in 2019 and 2021, and made 15 starts in 2025. But looking at here, 2018, he played just 7 games, started 6. 5 games in 2022, 4 games he started, and then 9 games in 2023, 14 games in 2024, but only started 9 of these. Injury problems are a massive thing, and 3 seasons he had double-digit sacks. Sorry, 4 seasons, but he's had 5.5 1 year, albeit this is through injury, but 7.5, 2.5 1 year. I just feel, again, I think his brother, Nick, is massively better. I said this the moment I saw him in his rookie year. I said, right, straight away, this guy is better. I just don't personally. Again, it goes down to what we're saying about OBJ. Just don't quite for me warrant the hype around him personally.
No,
but no, still a good player. Still, and he did get the Rookie of the Year back in Defensive Rookie of the Year 2016, and he did have the most forced fumbles in the most recent season. But again, looking at his career, I don't think ever really. You think about Aaron Donald, I think even Khalil Mack when he was at the Bears when he first joined. I don't really remember, top of my head, a definitive play by Bosa.
No.
I don't really recall ever thinking, Joe Bosa was the best player on the field. Whereas I've watched Bosa, I've watched Aaron Donald, I've watched Bears, like Mack in that first season with the Bears. I just don't believe I had that same wowness about him. I could be wrong. There's probably Chargers fans that probably will be screaming at their phones or their tablets right now. But he was someone I was really considering putting next. For me, not worth it at all.
The only thing I really remember from him playing is that stupid Halo teabagging celebration that he did every time. Every time he got a sack, you just start teabagging nothing. I go, oh my god! Like start off with, yeah, quite funny. And then when he got older and he was like only playing 6 games and he did it, I was like, oh my man, you just look like a dork right now. And to tie it all in, like the really famous coaching quote here. The best ability is availability. So the fact that he, just can't be healthy throughout, just not good for the team, man. Not good for the team.
I totally agree. And I don't know whether you saw that video of him. It was when one of
Is
the
it when
49ers playoff games when
he
like a
lost
fan,
his mind?
yeah, like a fan. I mean, I get in a way someone is giving him probably crap for a lot of time, but there was a video where it was a conference championship, I think, and I think it was when he was watching Nick, definitely, and I can't remember whether it was the first time round or the second time round that he whether it was the Eagles lost or whether it was the win against the Lions. But I remember there was a fan who was kind of trying to taunt him, and then he was like saying like talking about his money and talking about making like quite homophobic slurs at this guy.
Yeah, I remember.
And
Yeah.
all his family were there laughing at him, laughing it up, and yeah, that video did sort of I still kind of remember watching that and thinking that's not a good look. Like you get
Yeah,
abused
no.
all the time, and that's what you come back with. I mean, yeah, and talk about money and about earning more than you, and
No,
players are in their right to sort of if fans giving them abuse, they're in their right to sort of say something back, but maybe not quite what he said. Maybe he should have used maybe different things to come back with. But yeah, that was
no,
always
exactly. Like you said, when that's his like go to, like didn't even have to think about it, and he came out like that. Then it's like, right, well, this is a peek into the real you in a way. I remember also thinking about his crash outs. He had a crash out. Was it last season with the Bills? I'm sure. Like he was throwing his helmet about in the tunnel, stuff like that. I remember that one. I was like, what are we doing? You're meant to be a role model here. You've been brought in because of your, because of your experience and because you were a defensive rookie of the year at one point, and because you have all this playing time. Like, don't be throwing your helmet about like a child. Like that is again like rule number one. Just don't do it. So I think that's another one. I don't think, again, don't know the bloke personally, but I don't know if he is like the nicest person on the planet either.
no. I totally agree. So for my penultimate pick, now I am torn between two quarterbacks, and for those that watch my show with Ben Isaac, should have seen that I mentioned a lot of quarterbacks, and again, I do promise I watch more than just quarterbacks, but I seem to always pick quarterbacks in these top tens. Now there's two guys, but I think at least one of them maybe more people are speaking out about him, maybe not being overrated, maybe this guy. So I'm going to leave him for last in case you don't pick him. This guy, now, I will say, very cool man, and I view his jersey as one of the best you could own, and he has won multiple Super Bowls, and I think as a player, you kind of you want someone like him in your locker room, great leader, no baggage, no problems off the field. And this guy did have problems with a coach and kind of he did limit his ability. But I am going, and I apologise because I really do. I love watching his football life recently. Troy Aikman, I'm going to go for as my next nominee. Now, this one, judging by your reaction, might get a bit of heat, but I think personally, having watched some of his tape and watched his stuff, I feel like at times he was carried by the players. I want to show you his stats, right? So he had rookie year, he had 18 interceptions, 9 touchdowns. The next season, he had again 18 touchdowns, 18 interceptions, 11 touchdowns. He had, looking at this, he had only about 4 or 5 seasons where he had more touchdowns and picks. Looking at a particular 1996, he had 12 touchdowns, 13 picks, 7 touchdowns, 14 picks in his final year. And yes, he's got a great record, but he's still got 94 and 71 record. So it's not. Yeah, I think Troy Aikman for me. Emmitt Smith seemed to carry that team a lot. I just think personally, could someone else have gone in there and done the same sort of thing? Probably. Now, great guys, obviously, someone who maybe was problematic, maybe not. But I think for him personally, I think anyone who's sort of a good leader could have come in and done a similar job. Now, again, before my time, and there's people here who might say, oh, well, at that time, it was harder for quarterbacks. But for me personally, I look, yes, maybe if they got a couple more touchdowns and picks, maybe that's fair enough. But the fact he's got multiple seasons with more picks and considerably more picks than touchdowns, I just think, yeah, maybe he was, the fact he's a Hall of Famer and a 3-time Super Bowl champion, fair play to him, but maybe he's a little bit overrated. Also had, albeit again, older time, years ago, but he never had a 4,000-yard season. Only had, never had 3,500 either. Yeah, for me personally, probably being a bit harsh, just especially by your reaction, but I think maybe he was carried by other players.
Okay, all right. I think we've been talking about stats all day. Like I'll give you that one, but I think during that time especially, and because I know after the first 2 or 3 seasons, they then had a change in offensive coordinator, and that's when things started to work for Troy Aikman afterwards. And then he throughout his career was battling with concussions, and like he would keep playing whilst being concussed, which would lead to him like not doing the right thing or like throwing these interceptions and then being forced to like hand off the ball more often. Have you watched the documentary, the Dallas Cowboys one?
No, it's been on my list for ages.
Really good. It's really good. Really, really good. So in that one, like you see a more like behind the scenes look of how things were going on there. But I think especially I'm basing it off of that as well, like how Aikman was because as a leader with that group of players as well. When you have so many, like you said, so many stars, so many good players there, I'd argue he was like the glue that kind of made sure that no one like lost their head to like thought they were bigger than the team in a way. Like he was such an integral part in that team, I think. And I would also argue if we're looking at first seasons and loads of interceptions in the first seasons, that Peyton Manning would also fall under that criteria as well. So I don't know about that one. I'm saying all this, but then my next guy would fall under that criteria. Probably the other quarterback you had in mind as well. So I know I say all this, but the difference with Troy Aikman is, I think his leadership role, what he brought to the locker room, I think like how he got everyone together during the chaos of the Dallas years. I think that works in his favor. Whether it's enough to like solidify him in the Hall of Fame, I don't know, but yeah, I got to that's my first disagreement with you, Andy. I do apologize there.
I mean, I want to ask you what your views on Jalen Hurts. Can I ask you what your views on Jalen Hurts as a quarterback?
You know what, right? Even though I like, pull my Eagles friends' legs and like take the mick and all that, I do think recently he has like been thrown in the bus a little bit too much, but also he is not, like, Eagles fans think he is the second coming of Christ, like he is the greatest thing ever. I got to disagree with. Yes, I know he had two Super Bowl. What was it? 2 Super Bowl MVPs? Am I wrong? No, one. and that was, that. Oh yes, that was it. Yes, Super Bowl MVP, and was it in the one they won?
Yeah,
Yes, and then he played to a Super Bowl MVP caliber when they lost as well to the Chiefs. That I'll give it to him. Okay, when at that biggest stage he has performed, but the rest of the season, like I don't see much, especially like when I don't know when you've got AJ Brown, you got Devontae Smith, you got Saquon Barkley, you've got one of the best O lines in the league. Maybe not nowadays, but you used to. You're expected to, do well. So I guess with that, you do kind of, you're not as highlighted as much when you have that big supporting cast. But if things don't go right and you have that supporting cast, then of course people are going to look at you because you're in charge, man. You're the quarterback. You need to sort it out. I know. I think unfairly. Well, not unfairly. I know the OC got sacked. When was it? The year before or the last year, whatever. When everyone's like calling for his head. But I do think that part of that is Jalen Hurts as well. He does seem like a bit of a cornball. Like when he has these like aura farming moments. Like I hate it. I like when he just doesn't smile or anything. It's like, oh yeah, it's just another day. It's like, shut up. Just shut up, man. We get it. You're cool. Whatever. I think he's all right. He's definitely not top 5 QBs in the league. Like I see that all the time. He's not. At a push, maybe top 10, even that. But I think he's all right, but not as good as people say.
Well, I'm glad you said that because Jaden Hurts had good receivers in AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, a good O-line, and a good running back in Saquon Barkley. Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, and a good offensive line. And I think there's a world where Hurts could go on and win multiple Super Bowls with the way they're coached. So, that's one I want to put out there, that he feels like Jaden Hurts of the 1990s. Now, I don't think he will win 3 Super Bowls, but he could do. And again, I like Hurts. I think you can win with him. But I don't think he is the main reason why they win games. If obviously taken to aside Troy Aikman's personality, it seems like he wasn't the reason why they were winning games. It felt like if he didn't have Smith, the good O-line, and we saw that when the O-line had problems and when the coaching staff changed. And as a player, you should be able to adapt to different coaching changes. Tom Brady certainly did with defensive coordinators at times. And, Aikman for me, again, the Cowboys fans are probably going to, again, like with earlier picks, they're going to throw their phones at the wall or on their bus to work. But maybe Troy Aikman wasn't maybe worth, I don't know. But either way, we'll move on because we are going to probably go on digress too much on this one, and we're going to go to your final nominee.
Right. Do I mention my honorable mentions now, or do I go after your pick?
In case I pick
just
them.
In case. Okay. I think this guy was the other quarterback he had in mind. And I think, was it last year? It was this past year. It was his first year of eligibility in.
No, that's not my quarterback. My quarterback's way older than that.
Okay.
So you picked here because I thought you were going to go down this route.
Oh no. Okay. Well.
Oh, I know exactly where you're going. Yeah.
Right.
I know where this is going.
I think it was this past year. It was first of eligible for the Hall of Fame, and like I don't rate him at all. Postseason wise, okay, I'll give it to you. Like you won 2 Super Bowls, the 2 Super Bowls you went to, you won both of them. I'll give you that. But on the whole, Eli Manning, I think he's quite overrated. And I know he's in every single NFL overrated list. I know he is, but I just had to, because I didn't know if you were going to mention him or not, and I was like, well, he has to be mentioned because of how often Well, not even how often, but some people hold him in such a high regard, especially Giants fans. They love him. And I know I might be offending James, who's got the ball pod, my friend over in Ireland, but he's overrated. And regular season stats now. So 15 seasons. I think I only have the one stat here, but it's quite an important one. Is 236 games played and 244 interceptions. So it's like, and his completion percentage, I don't think he had more than, oh, wait, I have them right here. Oh, would you look at that? This is what I made earlier. So the highest completion percentage he had in season was 66%. And that was in his second to last year. And then QB rating, he wasn't higher than, he didn't reach like 72 quarterback rating in a season. I'm looking at all these like touchdowns. He had 30, 35. He had 2 seasons out of 15. We had more than 30 touchdowns thrown. He has, in his last season, he threw 6 touchdowns. In his first season, he threw 6 touchdowns. It's, I don't know. Like I get he's this giant killer. Took on the undefeated Patriots, beat them. That I'm forever grateful that he did do that and beat them. But I think he's really overrated, and I don't think he is a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback, and to be held in that high regard. Now I do realize, Andy, that I have just been talking about Troy Aikman, and it's a very unfortunate that these have fallen in place like this. But I would much rather take Troy Aikman than I would Eli Manning in any aspect. I think his name possibly propels him a little bit as well. But Eli Manning, I think, is one of the most overrated, not only quarterbacks but players to ever play in the NFL.
It's funny you mention this because we, in our last episode we called it, this will be multiple episodes since it was out, but we had Ben Isaacs on. We talked about top 10 Super Bowl matchups we never had, and we somehow got talking about Eli Manning, about whether he's a Hall of Famer. And for years, I was always convinced that he was, because I said to Ben at the time that, and I do check it out, by the way, if you are watching this or listening, do check out that episode. But I was always of the impression was, I've been to the Hall of Fame in Canton, and it's all about moments. It's all about this happened, and there's gloves worn from this player, there's jerseys worn by this player and that player, and it's about moments, and that's kind of it goes through a timeline of different things in history. And I feel like, the Manning with the 2 Super Bowls he won and stopping the Patriots, being undefeated, and then beating them 4 years later, both of them sort of underdog stories. I kind of felt like that would maybe put him in, but Ben made a good point that if that's the case, and David Tyree should be in there, and it makes a good point. And I've now, after 6-7 years of saying he was a Hall of Famer, maybe now I've probably been convinced the other way. Maybe he should just be. He has the MVP, the Super Bowl MVP. He has the rings. And one thing one stat I know that I think would add to this, him being in this top 10, is the fact that he only had 2 playoff seasons in his entire career, and those were both Super Bowl wins.
Wow.
Now, of course, he did the most important thing, win a Super Bowl. That's what, there's certain players, like we mentioned Dan Marino, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson so far haven't done so. They've had all of these amazing seasons in the regular season, haven't yet done it in the postseason, haven't even made a Super Bowl for Lamar and Josh Allen. Although I do think one of them will make a Super Bowl next season, in my opinion, or this season coming up. I think that's a good shout. I think it's a good shout. I personally didn't put him in just because I said for 5 years he's a Hall of Famer, so I felt fraudulent to go, oh, he's overrated. But he is someone I did think, maybe he could be someone else talked about. And we said it on the show that if you had Peyton Manning's regular season and you clone that with Eli's postseason success, you'd have the best quarterback of all time. Because I think that's the biggest shame that he's got as many rings as Peyton, because Peyton's got the most yards in a single season still to this day, most touchdowns. This guy is, I think personally, he is top 5 quarterback of all time, Peyton Manning. And it just seems an awful shame that he has the same amount of rings as his brother, when really, as a quarterback, they were night and day different. I think it's a worthwhile selection. I think, he might be high up in this list because, he is a Giants legend. I think Giants fans will hold him up in the highest of esteem. But maybe other teams' fans maybe wouldn't say the same thing. But a lot of teams that haven't got a Super Bowl ring, Browns, Jags, Titans, they would all kill for something like that. And the amount of quarterbacks they've taken in drafts, they would certainly, kill for that to happen.
Yeah.
Well, my last nominee is, once again, a quarterback, and the other one I was sort of toying with. And we are sticking with New York, but a lot earlier than Eli Manning's career. I am going for the one and only Broadway Joe Namath. Joe Namath, for me personally, we talked about, again, doing an episode with me and Ben where we go through top 10 Hall of Fame snubs. And I said we should also do, for each player we put in, take a player out. Joe Namath, for me, will be taken out of the Hall of Fame because he has, the fact that maybe people are saying he's overrated or maybe shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, that's why I didn't put him in as one of my first nominees. But the fact that I think his jersey number is retired from the Jets as well.
Wow.
Is one of the most famous games in NFL history, Super Bowl III against the then Baltimore Colts. And he has one of the best moments. He's there on the Sun Lounge predicting they're going to win the game. And personality-wise, he was one of the biggest characters. But he had 13 seasons in the NFL. But in all but 2 of these, he had more interceptions than touchdowns. Only 3 seasons with more than 3,000 yards, and just one of these with more than 4,000. Again, older time, passing wasn't as prevalent as it is now. But even back then, to play 140 games in the NFL and to play 140 games in the NFL and have an average of less than 200 yards per game, 197.8. I don't think that's Hall of Fame worthy, in my opinion. And yes, he had the moment against the Colts, the comeback win, or the shock win, I should say, more than comeback win. He has all of this, and he's held up in high esteem. He was there. I believe he was there in the most recent Super Bowl pre-game stuff, and all the ex-MVPs came onto the field. But again, he's got the Football Life documentary, right? So there's all these documentaries about this player and that player.
Oh yeah, I love them. I love those.
He had two parts to this, and Tim Tebow, I think, also could be an honorable mention. But Joe Namath, he's the only player I think I've watched a lot of those documentaries. Football Life, I love him. He's the only one I think player-wise that has a 2-parter. Bill Belichick has one. Fair enough, that's warranted. Best coach of all time, but for him to be the only player to have a 2-parter Football Life documentary, for me personally, that screams overrated, because there's many players. There'll be one about Drew Brees. I'm sure now he's in the Hall of Fame. Peyton Manning's, I'm sure, going to have one soon. Mahomes will have one when he's finished his career. Tom Brady will have one. They'll all be 1-parters, I'm sure. But Joe Namath has 2-parters to his Football Life documentary. And for that to only have 2 seasons with more touchdowns and picks. And I think personally that for me screams overrated.
I love how that's one of the main things that's really hit you in your soul, is the fact that this is 2 parts of Football Life. I love it. I love it because I love that, because it's not stat based or anything we've done before. He's got a 2-part Football Life doc, and that is outrageous.
That is the biggest scandal. That is genuinely a bigger scandal than Deflategate, in my opinion.
Oh my god!
Right.
Oh my god!
So we've got our top 10. I'll read out all of them. We've got OBJ, Bo Jackson, Reggie Bush, Bob Greasy, Jadeveon Clowney, Herschel Walker, Joey Bosa, Troy Aikman, Eli Manning, and Joe Namath. Now, what we'll do for top 10, as we always do, we'll each pick one player we think should be in the top 5 and one player we're happy to sacrifice that we've picked being in the bottom 5. And I think I want to sacrifice Herschel Walker in my bottom 5, and I kind of want to have Bo Jackson in the top 5 regardless. But kind of for you, Karan, which two players would you have? Which player would you have? You think if they're not the top 5, you'll be annoyed, and which player are you happy to sacrifice being in the bottom 5?
I think Joey Bosa is definitely one I want in the top 5. Like that's like personal as well for me. Like I definitely think top 5. Jadeveon Clowney, like because he wasn't like there aren't people out there who are saying like he's really good. So that's why it's like, okay, is he overrated or is he fairly rated? I'm just wanting to put it out there that he was overrated, just in case people think otherwise. So that's one I'm happy to be in like the bottom 5. I think OBJ is another that has to be in the top 5.
Yeah, OBJ, has to be.
Like people talk about him all the time. He has to be up there.
I agree. I mean, the fact that he was your first nominee and he was the first guy on my list, I think that's an easy top 5. So we got to try and work out. So we got 10 and 9 could be either Herschel Walker or Jadeveon Clowney. I'm happy to have Herschel Walker 10th, if I'm honest, but I'm also not against Clowney being, in that 10th position.
No, I think we can put Herschel Walker 10. I think think especially because you would doubt yourself as you were saying it. So
we'll have him 10th. We'll have Clowney 9th. That means we've got to try and work out. We'll try and do 6, 7, and 8. So Reggie Bush, Bob Greasy.
I think did you had Troy Aikman as well, didn't you?
Yeah, but I believe Troy Aikman could be higher than 8. I mean, I will say Bob Greasy I don't want in the bottom 4. I think he's personally for me. I think he could be in the top 5. But
really?
Yeah, but then
Who?
Maybe put him 8th. Maybe put Troy Aikman 8th because the fact that
is killing you. That is killing you.
It is. I was really passionate about Troy Aikman being in this. But then also, he's the only one we really disagreed on, I would say, is him. So maybe put him 8th, even though I think...
that makes sense.
But I think, the 3-time champion, there is something in you that makes you good. But I'll have to sacrifice it. I will, because this is not good luck, because in the one with Ben Isaacs, I think 3 of my 5 picks were in the bottom 5, and so far, the bottom 3 are mine. But no. Who have you got?
We had Bo Jackson definitely top 5. OBJ definitely top 5.
Yeah, Joey Bosa, and I kind of
Eli Manning has to be top 5 as well.
Yeah, put Eli in, and maybe put. Personally, I really want to put Bob Greasy in this top 5, so maybe that could be.
Yeah, you could put.
We could order our top 5. So that means we got to rattle down between Joe Namath and Reggie Bush.
Okay, I'm happy for Reggie Bush to take that 7th spot.
Okay, so that's fine on me. That's what I was going to try and lead you towards. And then Joe Namath 6th.
Yeah.
So we got off 10 to 6 locked in. That means you've got to try and pick between, in no particular order, Joe Jackson, Joey Bosa, OBJ, Eli Manning, and Bob Greasy. I'm going to say, I don't know whether you agree with me, Kanan. I don't feel personally Bosa is overrated as much as maybe the others.
No, I agree.
I don't know.
Well, who was so you had? I think OBJ and Eli Manning are like they are in the top 3. I'd say.
Yeah, so we can lock them in the top 3. So, yeah, maybe we try and get a top 3. So yeah, we can get a top 3 and we can make someone then put them in 4th. So OBJ, Eli Manning, and maybe put Bo. Do we put Bo Jackson in the top 3, or do we put Bob Greasy? Or
I'd say, okay, Bo Jackson as well in top 3. Then I'd say it's between OBJ and Eli Manning for the top two. You put Bo Jackson third, I reckon.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. So we put Bo Jackson.
This is whether you agree with me, though.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I reckon I've done about, between this off season and last season, I reckon I've done about 9 or 10 of these top 10 so far. I find it's one of the hardest to pick. I really am, because I kind of feel, personally, I feel the fact that we both had OBJ so high, he should be number one. I think he should be number one in my opinion. I just think that because I didn't have Eli Manning in my list of people, and you point. I think you had Joe. Did you have Bo Jackson in your list?
In fairness, I did have Bo Jackson in my list as well. So maybe, so if we're going off that, maybe it is like OBJ, Bo Jackson, then Eli Manning.
There we are. I think we got our list sorted. So
wow.
We'll go for our top 10, and like we're going to do with all of our top 10s, we're going to create a graphic for this, so you'll be able to see on our socials what our top 10 is, and do feel free, if you are listening, to put a comment on the video on YouTube, or if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you do disagree with any of these, then do let us know. And if there's any players we've missed out on, then please let us know. But our top 10 is as followed. So 10 is Herschel Walker, 9th is Jadeveon Clowney, 8th is Troy Aikman, 7th is Reggie Bush, 6th is Joe Namath, 5th is Joey Bosa, 4th is Bob Greasy, 3rd is Eli Manning, 2nd is Bo Jackson, and number 1, who we feel is the most overrated player in NFL history, is the one and only Odell Beckham. There we are. That is the list.
Hearing Joey Bosa's name in that top 5 is just so wrong. There's something so wrong. It's like he's not. He just shouldn't be in amongst those names. That's why I'm kind of regretting saying his name now.
I mean, I'm still annoyed. Aikman's 8th, to be honest. It is what it is.
If you want, because. Oh, I don't know, because have we just locked the list down?
Yeah, we've locked it in. We can't change it. And I feel like, yeah, if it is a guy that only one of us agrees on, then they should be low down. I think.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
But yeah, Troy Aikman for me. And again, I always say the best jersey of all time, in my opinion, is a Cowboys throwback with Aikman on the back. In my opinion, I think it's a great jersey with the helmet as well. I love Aikman, and I like his commentary. He's really grown on me in recent years, his commentary on TV, and great guy. I mean, as a quarterback, you think about his size and his personality. He's a quarterback you want in your team. But yeah, but I think I've talked about Aikman enough to stop getting a job on Monday Night Football. But
did you have any honourable mentions, by the way?
Yeah, I had a couple. Then there was one guy who was close to picking. I've just lost the page. One guy I had really that I don't think's been mentioned. Let's have a look where there was more than one. So the one guy, I had two guys, again, both quarterbacks. I had Kirk Cousins purely because of the money he's received in his career.
His agent should be in the Hall of Fame. Like
him and the agent of Julian Forbear, ex-West Ham player. If you know, you know. They should be in the Hall of Fame of agents. But the other one, my main one, I was really considering instead of Namath, was Tony Romo.
Wow.
2-4 in the postseason, and he had a lot of errors that he made himself in big moments. And the one I think about the most, the one I keep thinking about in his career, even though before my time watching the NFL, was that Seahawks wildcard round loss where they botched the snap. I think Tony Romo, and I will say, if we're doing top 10 most overrated announcers, number one for me, number one.
Really?
OBJ kind of career started off hot, got cold. I think for me personally, and I don't want to criticize him, but every time I watch the Bills play the Dolphins, when the Bills score, it's like Josh Allen is going to, it's like he's talking about Tom Brady. But then when the Dolphins score, it's like someone's killed his dog. Tony Romo is, I think, his commentary's got worse. People reckon he's drunk in games sometimes, and he's making some weird noises.
What the hell?
Whenever Josh Allen's on TV or Patrick Mahomes and he's doing the game, particularly, he seems to always do the Bills, him and Jim Nantz. Oh, I love Jim Nantz, by the way. But Tony Romo has gone downhill. But as a player, again had a great start, but I don't think he ever carried on the momentum from his first couple of years, where there was all that hype around him. He was dating Jessica Simpson. There was all this hype around him. He was the next best thing. And there's people I know, and there's friends of the show that have been on the show who are Cowboys fans that are fans because of him. But I just don't think he quite warrants being in that sort of talk about, I don't know whether he is talked about in any good light in terms of people say he should have been a Hall of Famer or not. But I just think that, yeah, maybe not quite the player that everyone, I don't think, thought that he was. Were there any players for you, Cynan, that you maybe?
I think my plays are very a reflection on how I haven't, of my age, and I haven't been watching the NFL for that long. So I'm holding up the whiteboard here if you're wondering why I'm looking off to the side here. So I had Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yes, I was about to say, I actually forgot to mention, I found on the next page of my Word document, I had a couple more players, and he was one of them. There's one more I'm going to mention in a minute, but I'm going to leave that till you've given yours. But
that was another one here. Kenny Golladay was another one. Like, don't even get me started. Again, they're just quite funny that the Giants paid him that much. Like, after one good season.
That contract is one of the worst, I think, in NFL history. Nothing worse than
Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, a certain quarterback I don't want to mention. But Juju was someone I really did think about. There's one guy I want to mention that this one could get a bit of slack. Now this guy, everyone talks about. Maybe not now because he's a bit older now. But there was a point where everyone's saying, "Bring him back." He deserves to play. But he was never that good. Had 1 or 2 good years. Colin Kaepernick.
Oh my God! Yeah, that is overrated, 100%.
I don't think he's in the league long enough to be overrated. I know Bo Jackson was.
Fair.
This, that's more to do with people said that he was. He deserves a job, and yet when he was like 38, people were saying, "Oh, bring him back. Someone will start him." But he was terrible his last couple of years. I know he should never have been, exiled from the league, but
no,
he was terrible in his last couple of years. Only had that one good year where he made the Super Bowl. They lost to the Ravens. I don't think personally he warranted that much hype. But
I have one more player, which is quite. This might be unpopular. I had Patrick Queen as another overrated player, linebacker for the Steelers.
That is harsh. In my opinion, that's harsh. But it depends how you kind of.
Not as in like he's a good player. He is a good player, but I think big play wise and having like a major effect on a game, like he did when he was with Roquan Smith with the Ravens, like that duo was the best in the league. That was like scary stuff. But I was expecting when he went to Steelers I was expecting him to have that same effect, like big play, or when he was on the field, you were like, okay, you got to be like, this is a guy that we have to scheme around. That kind of good, but he never reached that next level. And I think some people still hold him to like Roquan Smith's level, which they shouldn't do. So yeah, Patrick Queen is another honourable mention there.
Well, there we are. That is the end of the top 10. Now, Cynan, we mentioned the draft earlier. That is going to come, and you obviously will be, I'm sure, watching it. How are you watching it? First of all, because I know it's on late, and are you kind of person that will stay up late and watch it, or are you going to kind of watch it the next morning? How are you going to watch the draft this year?
I try my best to stay up, but there's only been one successful year where I've actually stayed up the entire time. That was when I was in university, where I actually could stay up that late and not have to worry about work the next day. But I mean, I'll try. I'll probably be in this exact room watching it. I mean, I'll try. But then with the other days, I do try my best to, like, if not watch them live, I try and watch the replays of them the next day. Like, I'll definitely watch the the half an hour videos you get of like every single pick in day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, whatever. Like I watch all of them because I love like, when was it? Well, last year when I'd done all this prep work to like look at researching people, and I found Danny Stutzman, the linebacker from, I think he was from Oklahoma, and I was like, yo, this guy's serious. This guy's serious. And then I was like, okay, he might be a day 3 type guy, blah, blah. And in my head, I was thinking, okay, if the Saints don't go for, I completely forgot his name, but I was like, he was who I wanted him to go for. He went to the Eagles, linebacker for the Eagles, from Alabama. Alabama linebacker, Eagles. Jihad Campbell, that was it.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I was desperate for the Saints to pick Jihad Campbell, and they didn't. And then I was like, okay, I have Carson Schwessinger as my second, and then he went to the Browns. So I was like, yeah, that's fair enough. And then we picked Danny Stutzman. I was like, oh my God, I know some sort of ball. I was very happy with that. So it's like those little wins you get. Same with when we picked Devin Neal as well, the running back, and like I think it was like the 6th or 7th round. I was like, oh my God, I like that kid as well. Oh my God. It's just those little wins. Just little wins you get. Clearly, I don't get many wins in my life, so stuff like that really helps me out.
Well, amazing. I mean, I do find the second and third days hard to watch like live, just because in my head I'm thinking, well, half these guys aren't going to make it past the first 2 years, and also I don't watch college football, so for me it's like I won't know these players anyway. So I kind of,
that's fair.
I was keen to keep an eye when certain players later on. I was really keen to see where Spencer Rattler went. That was something I was really keen. But
yeah,
often that weekend, most days I'm doing something. Like I was in Tenby 2 years ago. I was in North Wales last year. That there was there's always something I have on around draft day. But I will be keeping an eye out on the later rounds, because a friend of mine is actually going to be announcing a pick. Part of the Dolphins fan group, Fins Nation UK. The leader of the whole fan group, Wayne Collard, has been named the International Fan of the Year for the Dolphins, and he will be
awesome.
in Pittsburgh, I believe, all expenses paid, like it was with previous people who've done, like friends of the show, Olivia Peebles, Dan Hambridge, Ryan Farden. So I think the same for him. All expenses paid trip to Pittsburgh, and he'll be announcing, I don't know what round or when, and I'm hoping it's not like the friend of the show, Paul Hope, whose friend Lee Gowland was 49ers International Fan of the Year, and the TV break turned on when it was his pick. So I'm hoping Wayne Collard, Wayne, if you are listening, I'm hoping that this doesn't happen to you, but I will be keeping an eye out for that, because that's someone I've been to Dolphins games with. I've been to Florida Keys with him. Spent a week with him there. So yeah, someone I consider a friend, and the fact he's going to be announcing a pick, and I know he's going to hate it. He doesn't like social media. He doesn't like he doesn't like attention on himself. So I'm hoping it'll all go smoothly for him, and hopefully he's going to be announcing a future Dolphins legend.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
And wherever you are watching it, of course, actually pointless saying that because the draft already happened, but either way, wherever you watched it, hope you enjoyed the draft. And otherwise, this has been the Across the Pod NFL podcast with, as ever, your host today in Andy Davis, with our guest today in Helmed Pods, Cynan Anwyl. You follow if you haven't already, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.